This particular session is probably not even for the men, is it?
Ova sljedeća cijelina čak nije za muškarce, jel?
I mean, it's communication, guys. You don't need
To
that.
radi se o komunikaciji, vi znate da to nije za vas.
I think this is only something that I would do in America.
To je nešto što inače bi trebalo samo u Americi.
Yeah, guys in America would rather be out kicking the soccer ball than they would communicate.
Muževi u Americi bi radije bili negdje na nogometu nego da komuniciraju.
But we're going to do this anyway.
Ali mi ćemo to svejedno napraviti.
Poor communication
Loša komunikacija
is the reason that there are most difficulties in marriage.
je najveći razlog poteškoća u braku.
There needs to be a coming together to let each other know what's going on in their heart and their life.
Potrebno da je muževi i žene dođu zajedno da iskomuniciraju što se događa u njihovim životima.
Proverbs chapter 10 verse 11 says this.
Izreke 10:11 kaže ovo.
The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. Proverbs 10:11.
Izreke 10:11. Izreke 10:11 kaže: pravednikova su usta izvor života, a opakom usta kriju nasilje.
Notice what it's saying, that the person who's concealing their words and not speaking is really wicked.
Zapazite ovdje da osoba koja komunicira, ovdje se spominje kao zla osoba.
That's pretty extreme, isn't it?
To je prilično ekstremno, jel da?
But you know, that's what happens in a relationship when there isn't communication going on.
Ali upravo to je ono što se događa kada ne postoji komunikacija.
All kinds of imaginations are going on about what the other person thinks about me.
Svakojake misli se onda roje što bi druga osoba mogla misliti.
Or let's say that there's no communication from the husband to the wife, and the wife is wondering, does he still love me?
Ili kad nema komunikacije među muža i žene, onda žena može misliti, pa da li on uopće voli više.
And I was counseling with this husband and wife, and this man once said to me, he says, but don't you understand, I'm German.
I Ramca ima bračni par na savjetovanju i muškarac mi rekao, pa sad ne razumiješ, ja sam Njemac.
And so I said to him, I said, what does that have to do with anything?
I ja sam pitao, a šta uopće, kako to veze ima?
He says, German men are not very good communicators.
Pa Njemci nisu baš jako dobri komunikacije.
I said, well, Hitler seemed to do a pretty good job.
A ja sam rekao, pa Hitler je čini se bio jako dobar komunikacije.
Turn to 1 Peter chapter 3.
Prva Petrova, 3. odlomak.
I'm preaching through 1 Peter, so we could get stuck here for a little bit, but...
Ja baš povedam iz 1. Petrove, pa ako se češća malo tu zaglavim, znajte da je to.
But in 1 Peter 3, starting in verse 1, all the way to verse 7, Peter is talking about the marriage.
U 1. Petrovoj 3 od 7 Petar govori o braku.
But then in verse 8 he turns and he sums it all up, and I'm thinking he's summing it up all the way back to chapter 2.
I onda u 8. on radi određen rezime.
And he says this, all of you be harmonious, sympathetic, brotherly, kindly, and humble in spirit.
Kaže na kraju svi budite jednodušni, puni suosjećanja, bratske ljubavi, milosrđa i poniznosti.
Not returning evil for evil.
Ne vraćajte zlo za zlo.
Now, my wife has never done this, but if she did send evil toward me,
moja žena to nikad nije učinila, ali kad bi mi vratila zlom za zlo,
this passage is saying I'm not to return that evil to her.
Kad mi učinila nešto nažao, ovaj odlomak me upozorava da ja ne bi smio njoj uskratiti lošim.
If she were to insult me, I'm not to insult her.
Ako me ona povrijedi, ne bih ja smio nju povrijediti za uzlom.
But notice what it's saying here. I'm supposed to give a blessing instead. Are you kidding me?
Nakon toga, u stvari kaže još već naprotiv blagoslivajte. Da li je to moguće?
As believers, that's what we've been called to.
Kao vjernici mi smo upravo na to pozvani.
Is that even when the person attacks us, even when the person insults us, even when they call us nasty names,
čak kad nas ljudi uvrijede, kad nas napadnu, kad nas nazivaju pogrdnim imenima,
we are to bless them instead.
Mi bismo ih trebali za uzvrat blagoslivljati.
Because that's why we've been called by God.
Jer upravo smo na to pozvani od Boga.
You go back to 1 Peter chapter 2:21, and it says, that you've been called for this purpose, leaving you an example to follow in his steps.
Jer u prethodnom odlomku 21. redu kaže Petar, da na to ste i pozvani jer je Krist trpio za vas i ostavio vam primjer da idete njegovim stopama.
Remember, he was on the cross, and in 2:24 it says that he bore our sins, but it says, and while being reviled, verse 23, he did not revile in return, but he kept entrusting himself to judge, who judges righteously.
U sljedećim redcima on spominje kako je Krist bio na križu i iz križa je zazivao blagoslov i oproštenje onima koji su ga nepravedno zlostavljali.
Now at this point what I usually get from the man.
Ovo obično dobivam kao odgovor od muževa.
But Bill, that was God.
Bill, to je Bog bio.
I said, no, this is the cross and this is Jesus and he's a man here because we never killed God.
Ovo se radi o križu i na križu je bio čovjek koji je Isus, jer Boga nikad ne bismo mogli ubiti.
It was the human nature of Jesus Christ that was on the cross.
Ljudska narav je bila Isusova na križu.
And in that situation he chose still not to insult them when he could have killed them all.
I u toj situaciji on je ipak odlučio uzvratiti dobrim, iako je mogao sve pobiti.
So if I find a couple that's being disharmonious and they have trouble in their relationship, it's about communication.
Kad naiđem na bračni par koji je neskladan i koji se ne slaže dobro u svom braku, onda obično zapažam da je među njima loša komunikacija.
Now I went downstairs earlier and I heard everybody downstairs talking like crazy. I couldn't understand a word you were saying, but I heard you talking.
Kad sam bio u ovoj prostoriji iza gdje smo pili kavu, čuo sam da svi razgovaraju kao ljudi. Nisam razumio ni jednu riječ, ali sam čuo kako puno razgovaraju.
I know that this body of Christ loves one another. I didn't have a understanding of what you said, but I know that you love one another.
Iako nisam razumio riječi, ja sam znao da je posrijedi ljubav u Kristovom tijelu.
If we have effective communication in the basement, we should have effective communication in our living rooms.
Ako imamo takvu vrstu komunikacije u podrumu, onda bismo takvu vrstu komunikacije trebali imati u dnevnoj sobi.
And so husbands and wives need to get together, and this is how you do this.
Muževi i žene trebaju doći zajedno i evo kako trebaju činiti.
We need to understand what God's word has to say about it.
Trebamo razumjeti što nam Božja riječ kaže o tome.
Proverbs 11:9 says this.
Izreke 11:9.
Please read that. Proverbs 11:9 about the godless man destroying his neighbor.
Izreke 11:9. Bezbožnik ustima ubija svog bližnjega, a pravednici se izbavljaju znanjem.
Notice the difference here. The godless man is destroying, and the righteous man is trying to build up and to deliver.
Zapazite ovdje da bezbožnik razara, a pravednik teži tome da izbavlja.
If my wife ever gives me a cross word, I want to understand why. I don't want to run away like some wimp.
Kad mi moja žena u nečemu protivriječi, ja želim razumjeti zašto je to, a ne želim odmah reagirati impulsivno.
In some situations it may be that she's misheard something I said.
U nekoj situaciji može biti da jednostavno nije razumjela što sam rekao.
Now I know that doesn't happen here in Croatia, but in America sometimes we don't hear things correctly.
Ja znam da se to ne događa ovdje u Hrvatskoj, ali u Americi mi često ponekad ne čujemo dobro.
And sometimes in America we don't say things correctly.
A čak mi ponekad u Americi ne kažemo
stvari kako we have to check those words.
I trebamo provjeriti te riječi.
And we have to examine what we may have said.
I moramo provjeriti što smo možda bili rekli.
That may be misunderstood.
Što je možda bilo krivo shvaćeno.
Proverbs 11:11 says this: by the blessing of the upright a city is exalted.
Kaže 11:11 blagoslovom pravednika grad se diže, a ustima olakih razara se.
So we need to understand what the words of the tongue can actually do, what can happen.
Trebamo razumjeti što su sve usta sposobna i jezik učiniti, što se može iz toga izroditi.
I have in my Bible, in my Proverbs section, I write down where it talks about words, and there are so many. Proverbs 12:18 has another verse there. It says, if we speak like rashly, like the thrust of a sword, the tongue is supposed to be used to heal another person.
Izreke 12:18 kaže, nesmatran govori kao da mačem probara, a jezik je mudrih isceljenje.
It says that Proverbs 18:21 that the death and life are in the tongue.
U Izrekama 21:20
Proverbs 18:21.
I Izreke 18:21 kaže da su smrt i život u vlasti su jezika, koga miluje i jede od ploda njegovog.
In James 3, it talks about the tongue being the poison of a viper, that it's like a fire that can destroy a whole forest.
U Jakovu 3 kaže da je jezik vatra koja može zapaliti požar u šumi.
In 2007 in Southern California,
U 2007. godini u Južnoj Kaliforniji
there was a fire that destroyed 500,000 acres.
bio je požar koji je područje koje je izgorilo bilo je 500,000 hektara.
It killed 12 people.
Ubilo je 12 ljudi.
It destroyed like 800 homes, something around 800 homes.
800 kuća je izgorilo požar.
And it was one match from a 10-year-old boy.
A sve je to uzrokovala jedna šibica 10-godišnjeg dječaka.
And when the Bible says that the tongue is like a fire, can you imagine just one little match did all of that destruction?
I kad Biblija kaže da je jezik poput šibice, poput vatre, možete li zamisliti da jedna mala šibica može napraviti toliko veliku štetu?
Again, I don't think this has ever happened in Croatia, but there are a lot of marriages don't have good communication.
Ja znam da se to ne događa u Hrvatskoj, ali u Americi ima puno brakova koji nema dobru komunikaciju.
They're not effectively communicating with one another.
Oni jednostavno ne komuniciraju učinkovito međusobno.
What happens to the relationship? It becomes shallow. It becomes
I njihov odnos postaje površan.
very superficial kind of relationship. Boredom begins to set in with one or both of the people in the relationship.
Postavljaju se granice u braku.
They become dissatisfied. Someone else comes along who is a good talker.
Oni postaju međusobno nezadovoljni i onda neko se umiješa koji je dobar komunikator.
They put the smile back on the face.
I on vrati taj osmijeh na lice.
And you know what's going to happen next.
I znate što će se dogoditi sljedeće onda.
And I once had a young lady in my office who was married to a man that was not a good communicator.
Ja sam imao jednu ženu u mom uredu koja je bila u braku sa muškarcem koji nije bio dobar komunikator.
And I said to her, you have to be very careful because you're an attractive woman, because you want to have somebody to communicate with you. Somebody's going to come along and start talking to you.
I rekao sam mi, moraš biti pažljiva jer ti si privlačna žena i voliš razgovarati i jedan će neko doći ko neko priča.
And I said to her, you're going to wind up falling into sin and I know you're going to regret it.
I mogu se dogoditi da padneš u grijeh i znam da će ti biti žao.
1 year later she comes to my office crying.
Godinu dana nakon toga došla je u moj ured plačući.
And she said, how did you know?
I pitala me kako se znam.
I am not a prophet, folks.
Narode, nisam ja prorok.
But I know the course of sin and this is where she was headed.
Ali znam put grijeha i to je upravo ono put je ona išla.
I know that it completely destroyed her marriage because the husband found out and there was no way of trying to put this thing back together.
I znam da je to potpuno razorilo njihov brak jer je muž to otkrio, nije bilo načina da se to cijeli.
One day I walked into my daughter's house and my 4-year-old granddaughter is playing on the kitchen floor.
Jednom sam došao u kuću moje kćeri i njezina 4-godišnja curica je
my 4-year-old granddaughter was sitting there and I played. Yeah, she was sitting there playing.
Ona se igrala na podu.
I sat down with her and I played with her for about 30 minutes.
Sjeo sam dolje s njom i pola sata sam se igrao.
And while we're playing, she says to me, Papa, will you marry me?
I za vrijeme kad su igrali, onda je ona zapitala, deda, bi se ti ženio sam, i ti mi je ne ženio.
What does that show you?
Što vam to pokazuje?
Not that I'm such a special guy, I want you to know.
Nisam ja tako poseban, to treba da znate.
But good communication brings about the natural course of what's supposed to happen, is that they would want to have a relationship.
Da dobra komunikacija jednostavno ide tim putem da ljudi žele onda biti bliski.
And so that's the problem that we have if we don't have good communication.
I to nam onda jasno pokazuje problem koji imamo ako ne komuniciramo dobro.
One last story, if you don't mind.
Još jedna priča ako ne smeta.
In 3 summers ago, I was in South Korea.
Prije 3 ljeta bio sam u Južnoj Koreji.
I was teaching pastors. There was about 50, 60 pastors.
Bilo je tamo nekih 50-60 pastora i ja sam poučavao.
And the night before, the night before, I was telling him, you know, husbands, I want you to go home and I want you to ask your wives.
I noć prije toga sam rekao im, muževi sad kad idete doma, želim da nešto upitate svoje žene.
How you are in your communication with them and whether you get a high grade of A or you fail.
Koliko ste dobri u komunikaciji, neka one kažu da li ste na nekoj ljestvici visoko ili nisko.
The next morning, I didn't know what was happening, but pastor after pastor was getting up in front of the people there.
Ali sljedeće jutro nisam znao da će se to dogoditi, pastor za pastorom je izlazio ispred ljudi.
And so I asked one of the translators, so what's going on? He says they're repenting.
I pitao sam prevoditelja, pa što se događa, veli, oni se kaju.
Because they failed your test.
Jer su pali na tom testu.
So if it can happen with pastors, it can happen with anybody.
Ako se to može dogoditi pastorima, sigurno se može dogoditi svakome.
Communication between a husband and wife is essential for a good relationship.
Komunikacija između muža i žene je suština dobrog odnosa.
When you don't have good communication, you can't make a decision.
Kad nemaš dobru komunikaciju, ne možeš donositi dobre odluke.
You know, you don't know what restaurant you want to go out to, you don't know what food you want to buy, you don't know what vacation happens.
Koji biste restorani išli, koji biste hranu kupili, kako biste išli na odmor.
Okay, all of those indecisions happen.
A sve to doprinosi neodlučnosti.
The issues between you remain unclear and you don't know what plans that you want for your
I onda nije jasno kakvi su stavovi i kakvi su planovi.
From the scriptures, there's the story of Joshua and Jacob and Esau.
U pismu imamo, u Svetom pismu imamo zapis o Esavu i Jakovu.
Remember Jacob, he stole a blessing from his brother Esau.
Znate da je Jakov ukrao blagoslov od svog brata Esava.
They spent years apart and all of a sudden Jacob sees his brother off in the distance.
I oni su proveli godine razdvojeno i došao je trenutak kad je Jakov vidio u daljini svog brata Esava.
Now they've not had any communication, so he assumes his brother may want to kill him.
Oni nisu imali međusobnu komunikaciju, tako da pretpostavljao da njegov brat želi njega ubiti.
You remember what Jacob did?
Znate što je Jakov učinio?
Real hero of a guy, he sent his ugly wife ahead.
On Božji heroj poslao je žene ispred sebe.
Just in case, if he's going to kill somebody, he might as well kill her. I can still have a pretty one.
Ipak nikad se ne zna ako bi išao ubijati, da onda neki ipak žene budu tu.
He had suspicion and presumption. He had suspicion and presumption about what his brother, because they didn't have communication.
Nisu imali komunikaciju, pa ima neke pretpostavke, neke sumnje.
When we have a disagreement, and you and I,
kad se mi ne slažemo nečemu,
I want to know why you disagree with me. I want to ask you, what is it that I said, or what is it that I did that offended you?
Želim znati zašto se ne slažemo. Što sam ja to rekao da nije došlo na plodno tlo?
Because if we have a disagreement, I don't want it to turn into a conflict.
Jer ako imamo nesuglasicu, ne želim da se to pretvori u konflikt.
It is very easy that can happen.
A jako je lako do toga doći.
Whether it's between nations or it's between individuals.
To može biti između nacija, naroda, a jednako tako i između pojedinaca.
In the book of Joshua, we're told the story about Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, and they had finished their time of conquering the nations in
U Jošu imamo zapis o tome kako su Ruben i Manaše kad su dijelili zemlju.
And they're about to go over to the other side of the Jordan, and instead of doing that, which they should have done, they stopped and they made an altar.
I oni su išli na drugu stranu Jordana i napravili su sebi oltar što nisu smjeli.
The rest of the tribes see them making the altar and they say, oh, they're doing something that's against what God commanded, so we need to go over there and kill them.
A druga plemena su zaključila da oni rade nešto što Bog ne dopušta i odmah su odlučili da će ići i da će ih pobiti.
But they sent someone there to find out, what are you really doing?
Ali su ipak nekog poslali tamo da saznaju, da se uvjere šta oni to u stvari rade.
Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh were building this altar there so that it would be a place where they could send their children to look at it and remember what God had done for them in the promised land.
A oni su gradili mjesto gdje bi njihova djeca mogla uvijek se vraćati i vidjeti spomen na ono što je Bog učinio.
Communication was necessary to resolve that disagreement there and not have war.
Komunikacija je bila potrebna da se to razriješi i da ne nastane rat.
Conflict was resolved there because of communication.
I taj se sukob razriješio zbog dobre komunikacije.
Let's talk about what communication is.
Hajmo malo pobliže razgovarati o tome što je to uopće komunikacija.
It's not an event.
To nije događaj.
It's a process. It's something that's supposed to be going on and on and on and always going on.
To je proces koji se događa i uvijek se događa.
My wife and I have Tuesday nights set aside for the two of us that we talk. Well, we have Tuesday nights set aside for us to talk.
Mi smo, moja žena i ja smo si uzeli da nam utorak navečer bude vrijeme kada razgovaramo.
And what that means is that if we stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, we're going to talk it all out. We just keep talking until we're
To znači da ćemo razgovarati koliko god je potrebno duboko u noć.
But that's not the only time we talk. We still have meals together. We still have conversations together. That's the time for important planning.
To nije jedno vrijeme kad mi razgovaramo oko jela i oko drugih stvari, a to je ono koje smo si odvojili za važne stvari, važne razgovore.
Sometimes in the middle of those discussions we stop and we pray.
I ponekad usred tih razgovora mi jednostavno zastanemo, zajedno molimo.
Now, she's married to an Irishman.
Ona je udana za Irca.
And Irishmen are known to be stubborn.
A Irci su poznati da su tvrdoglavi.
I know there isn't another race that has that excuse, but we do. There isn't another race that has that excuse, but we do.
Ima drugih rasa koje imaju izgovor. Nema izgovor. Ali imam bar izgovor.
So we sometimes have to pray for me to get rid of my stubbornness.
Tako vas molim da ponekad molite za mene da se oslobodim svoje tvrdoglavosti.
And I got to tell you folks, it's good to have those kinds of conversations and have them openly.
I ja vam kažem da je jako dobro imati razgovore i onda biti tvoren u tome.
It's a time to share about everything.
To je vrijeme kada možemo razgovarati o bilo čemu.
In Nehemiah chapter 8, it talks about exposing the message. That's what your pastor does on Sunday morning. He opens up the Bible, exposes the message to
you. U Nehemiji 4:8 vidimo da je izlagana Božja riječ i to je ono što pastori čine u crkvi.
He's telling you what God is saying to you for that particular day.
Kaže što vam Bog govori tog posebnog dana.
And so to be able to understand that, we sometimes need to have some of the words explained to us.
A da bismo razumjeli, ponekad nam je potrebno i nekakva objašnjenja.
Sometimes there's words there that are not conveying the message very clearly, and the theology behind them need to be explained.
Kad se radi o propovjedi, u Svetom pismu ima riječi koje su možda teološki dublje i potrebno ih razložiti.
Communication is the art of conveying the message.
A komunikacija je umjetnost predanja poruke.
It's about information and meaning. It's about a common understanding.
Radi se o informaciji, o značenju, o međusobnom razumijevanju.
I like even the way that we're speaking here, and sometimes words are talked between the speaker and some of you to get the meaning of what's being said.
I čak i na prilikama poput ovoga govornik se trudi objasniti značenje riječi kako bi bilo razumljivo.
It opens up and makes it clearer.
Kako bi sve bilo jasnije.
Communication is a process of sharing information.
Komunikacija je proces dijeljenja informacija.
I share the information, she shares the information so that we can be strengthened and enriched and encouraged.
Ja predajem informacije, ona predaje informacije kako bi smo bili međusobno ojačani i ohrabreni.
That brings about harmony and closeness in your relationship.
I to donosi sklad i bliskost u odnosu.
The emotional closeness that we have is built on the effective communication.
Emotivna bliskost koju imamo je plod dobre komunikacije.
Here are 4 things that are specifically involved in good communication.
A evo 4 točke koje su posebno uključene, dio dobre komunikacije.
Number 1, it's the thoughts that I have, the desires I have, the motives I have, the expectations I have.
Broj 1 je, znači, misli, motivi, očekivanja koje ja imam.
And I need to explain them to my wife.
Ja ih trebam znati i objasniti svoje ženje.
I use words.
Koristim riječi.
I rarely use pictures. I do this when I teach sometimes.
Čak koristim i slike kao kad poučavam.
But that's not a bad thing to do.
To nije uopće loše.
If I had any talent, was a good artist, I would probably do this more.
Ako bih imao talent dobrog umjetnika, onda bih to činio i češće.
You need phrases, you need clauses, you need grammatical nuances.
Trebate fraze, trebate specifične riječi, izraze.
But you can't be like the guy who said, look, I told her I loved her when I got married. If I change my mind, I'll let her know.
Ne možete biti poput muža koji je rekao svojoj ženi, gle, kad smo se ženili, ja sam ti rekao da te volim. Ako će se išta promijeniti, ja ću te obavijestiti o tome.
That's not enough. We use inflections. I'm listening to him and I can hear you going up and down. He's making it interesting. You're going up and down with your inflections, your voice.
On kaže da sluša kako prevoditelj ide u svom tonu gore dole i to čini zanimljivim.
Now let's say that, I know you men would never do this, but let's say you hurt your wife.
Ja znam da to ovi muškarci nikad ne biste učinili, ali kažem,
let's say you hurt your wife.
Recimo, to ne biste učinili, recimo da ste povrijedili svoju ženu.
And you said this, I'm sorry.
I kažete, žao mi je.
That doesn't show any kind of passion or any kind of interest.
Pa to ne pokazuje baš nijakvu emociju ili kako se kaže.
No emotion. But if you say, I'm sorry.
Ali kažete, žao mi je.
We also teach with our body, don't we? If we pay attention. My wife says this to me often. Now, I know you men wouldn't do this, but I'm watching a ball game. She's trying to talk to me. Yeah, a ball game, soccer match. All right, and I'm watching the soccer match, and then somebody may get a goal in the next 40 minutes, and I need to watch it.
Kad usporedimo to sa gledanjem utakmice, vidimo kako su muškarci emotivni.
And like this, no, I need to shut it off and I need to pay attention to it.
Nije se emotivno, nego ne možeš razgovarati kad gledaš utakmicu, moraš gasiti televizor i onda se posvetiti razgovoru.
We also need to be careful of the words that we use.
Naravno trebamo biti pažljivi i riječi koje biramo.
I was once communicating in England and I said to the folks there, I said, we don't come as theological snobs, we put our pants on one leg at a time. We put our pants on.
Kad sam bio u Engleskoj, onda sam spomenuo, mi kažemo Americi pants, to u Engleskoj znači gače. Dakle, svi trebamo ući gače kad idemo crkvu.
In England it means ladies' underwear. Does it mean the same here?
Da, to znači ženski gače u stvari.
And so you got to watch out where you are.
Morate malo paziti da se krivo ne shvatite.
But here are 4 principles. I'm going to take these right out of Scripture.
Evo 4 principa koje nalazimo u pismu.
Ephesians chapter 4.
Efežanima 4. poglavlje.
And these are the 4 principles of good communication.
Tu nalazimo 4 principa dobre komunikacije.
And you can see it in Ephesians 4:25. It says there.
Efežanima 4:25.
Speak truth, each one of you.
Kaže Efežanima 4:25.
Speak truth, each one of you, with his neighbor.
Govorite istinu svak sa svojim bližnjim.
By the way, that's a command, that's an imperative.
Usput rečeno, to je imperativ, znači to je naredba.
It doesn't say, if you feel like it, speak. No, each one of you needs to speak.
Ne kaže, ako se tako osjećate, onda govorite istinu, nego to je naredba.
And you're to be speaking to your wife, communicating with your wife.
I tako trebate razgovarati sa svojom ženom.
My wife could presume what's in my heart.
Moja žena može pretpostaviti što je u mom srcu.
But I need to let her know what's there.
Ali ja trebam reći što se nalazi u mom srcu.
I could assume what's in her heart, but I got to ask her what is there.
Ja mogu pretpostaviti što je u njezinom srcu, ali moram je pitati da mi ona to kaže.
I could offer my wife lots of money.
Ja mogu ponuditi mojoj ženi puno novca.
A brand new car.
Potpuno novi auto.
But she would rather go on a walk with me to talk with me.
Ali ona bi radije išla samo na jednu šetnju sa mnom i na dobar razgovor.
I can get away with a lot doing that. I can save some money too.
I na taj način mogu ja ušparati puno novaca.
Women want to communicate, man. Do you hear what I'm saying here?
Žene žele komunicirati, muškarci čujete.
Can I get an amen?
I da sam čuo kako amen?
Okay. Communicate.
Komunicirate.
So you need to speak.
Trebate govoriti.
The verb tense here, by the way, is a present tense, which means it's a continuous action. Supposed to be doing it always.
Glagolsko vrijeme koje se ovdje koristi je sadašnje, to znači da se to mora događati kontinuirano.
Always speaking the truth especially.
To se posebno odnosi na govor istine.
Regardless of whether your spouse is speaking the truth or not, you're supposed to still speak the truth.
I to bez obzira da li vaš supružnik govori istinu, vi ste pozvani govoriti istinu.
And so it's about being honest and it's about not lying.
Radi se o tome da ste pošteni i da ne lažete.
And so we are to be careful about the things that we say.
I trebamo biti pažljivi s onim što kažemo.
I had a man in my office one day who told his wife that he had gone out to lunch with somebody from the office.
Ja sam imao čovjeka u svom uredu koji je
he went out to lunch with somebody from the office.
I on je išao na ručak sa nekim iz ureda.
The problem is he didn't tell her that it was a woman.
A problem je što svoj supruzi nije rekao da je to žena s kojom ide na ručak.
He was trying to hide it from her.
On je probao to malo sakriti.
That's dishonest. He said half of it, but he didn't say the whole thing.
I to je nepošteno jer se rekao pola od toga, nisi rekao cijelu istinu.
So we need to be speaking the truth, and we need to speak the truth lovingly. It says in Ephesians 4:15, say the truth in love.
Trebamo govoriti istinu, trebamo govoriti istinu ljubavi, kao što kaže u Efežanima 14.
We need to be careful, though, even when we're speaking the truth, that we would speak it redemptively.
Trebamo biti pažljivi kad govorimo istinu, da je ne govorimo redemptivno.
With love. Yeah.
Spasonosno? Redemptively?
A vi kažete da ne smijemo spasonosno govoriti istinu. Kako to možemo?
What did you say?
I said speak redemptively.
Govorite.
Da dajemo milost.
Lovingly, appropriately, godly, that kind of way.
Govoriti istinu ljubavi.
Because I can speak the truth and say, you know, when I was a kid, I used to make fun of people who wore glasses.
Možemo li govoriti istinu na drugi način. Kad sam ja bio mali, onda sam se rugao ljudima koji su nosili naočare.
And now I wear glasses.
Ja sam nosim naočare.
So it's, yeah, I can say, oh, look at that funny guy with the big nose.
I mogu sam reći, gledaj tog smiješnog čovjeka s velikim
Notice
nosom.
where I looked. I looked right down the center, so I wasn't looking at anyone. But I can say that, it's right, he's got a big nose, but that's really not loving, is it?
I to može biti istina da on ima veliki nos, ali to baš nije u ljubavi.
And so our speech needs to be such that we're blessing the other person.
Znači, naš govor treba biti uvijek namjeren da blagoslivlja drugu osobu.
I need to be careful with how I say things to my wife.
Trebam biti pažljiv kako kažem stvari svojoj ženi.
I could say things sarcastically. Now, you would never know that of me, but I could say things sarcastically.
Vi to ne biste pretpostavili, ali ja mogu reći mogu se služiti sarkazmom.
But we need to be careful about those kinds of
S
things.
tim moramo biti jako pažljivi.
We could say things in an angry tone.
Možemo govoriti ljutitim glasom.
And then right away that brings to mind that Proverbs 15.
I to mi odmah dovodi u misli izreke 15.
Proverbs 15, 1 and 2. It says, a gentle answer turns away wrath,
Kaže,
but a harsh word stirs up anger.
Izreke 15.1 kaže, blag odgovor ublažava jarost, a riječ osobna uvećava srčbu.
You can look at even verse 2 there. It says, the wise makes knowledge acceptable, but the mouth of fools spouts folly.
Ono nakon to kaže, jezik mudrih ljudi proslavlja znanja, a usta bezumnih prosipaju ludost.
In one simple sentence, the one simple verse I can think of is Colossians 4:6.
U jednom jednostavnom rečenici, Kološanima 4:6.
In Colossians, Paul uses some very picturesque words.
Pavao koristi sliku riječi u Kološanima.
And again, I was born in New York City, and I have no idea what this picture is here until I started to study the word.
I pošto sam rođen u New Yorku, nisam imao blage veze što bi to značilo dok nisam malo studirao ovu riječ.
But it says in Colossians 4:6 that let your speech always be with grace, as seasoned with salt.
Kaže Kološanima 4:6, neka vam riječ bude ljubazna, solju začinjena.
Now, for all of us, we understand if we put salt on our food, it tastes better, right?
Mi svi znamo ako stavimo sol na hranu da ona ima bolji okus.
But you know, there's another aspect of salt.
Ali znate li da postoji još jedan drugi aspekt soli?
If you have cattle and you put a salt lick out there and the cattle lick the salt, what do they want to do?
Ako imate stoku i stavite negdje gdje onda može stoka lizati sol, šta će se dogoditi?
They want to drink water so that they get fatter, so they make more money for you.
Onda će one biti žedne, piti će vodu, postaće deblje i vi ćete zaraditi više.
That's how our speech is to be, is that people would want to come back and hear more, and they want to talk to us more, and they want to have conversation.
I takav bi upravo trebao biti naš govor, da bi se ljudi nam htjeli vraćati, da bi htjeli više razgovarati.
That's how our communication is to be.
Takva bi trebala biti naša komunikacija.
That's speaking in a loving, caring, and concerned way.
To je govor u ljubavi.
Principle number 2, not only speak lovingly and speak, but number 2 is to keep current. We go back to Ephesians again.
Drugi princip, ne samo da govorimo u ljubavi,
This is point 2, but we go back to Ephesians 4.
Vraćamo se tu na Efežanima 4.
And it says some very interesting things there. It says,
Tu kaže nešto vrlo zanimljivo.
be angry, yet do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and do not give the devil an opportunity.
Kaže u 4.26, ako se ljutite, ne griješite i neka sunce ne zađe nad vašom srčkom.
The Greek word that's actually used there about anger can be taken as an indicative or an imperative.
Ta grčka riječ koja se ovdje koristi kao srčka može se razumjeti čak u imperativu.
And I don't want us to get all confused about it, but it could be you are angry or you are to be angry. You are to get angry.
Ne bi stio zbuniti, ali to kaže kao vi ste ljuti ili vi ćete biti ljuti.
So why would God command you to get angry?
Zašto bi nas Bog naredio da budemo ljuti?
By the way, anger is something that God has.
Ali usput rečeno, ljutnja je nešto što i sam Bog ima.
It's actually one of his attributes.
To je jedan od njegovih atributa.
He's going to destroy people at the end of the world, and he doesn't put on anger just at the end of the world. He's had it there forever.
S obzirom da će on uništiti neke ljude na kraju svijeta, mi možemo zaključiti da on ima srčku i već u toku vremena.
He gave it to man at creation.
I on je tu mogućnost dao ljudima kod stvaranja.
But anger was to be an emotion that would be constructive.
Ali ljutnja bi trebala biti konstruktivna emocija.
Because when you have that emotion that puts blood through your veins,
jer kad ima tu emociju koja vašu krv zažari,
it should be used to what? Solve the problem.
To bi trebalo biti korišteno da bi se rješavali problemi.
Do not let the sun go down on your anger.
I nemojte dopustiti da sunce zađe za vrijeme vaše srđbe.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, it was about 6:30 last night that the sun went down.
Ako nisam pogriješio, jučer je sunce zašlo u 6:30.
So tonight we're left the church, you go home and you get into an argument.
I danas vratite iz crkve i slobodno se svađate.
At 6:25, I guess that's what, 18:25?
Yeah.
Okay.
Znači u 6:25.
It doesn't mean that you have 5 minutes.
To ne znači da imate, ako se posvađate u 6:25, imate samo 5 minuta.
That's not what it means. It means to take care of it as soon as you can.
To znači da zbrinite i sredite se što prije možete.
And also doesn't mean that at 18:35 the sun's already gone down. You got 24 hours to get it done.
To ne znači da ako ste postavili biti ljuti u 18:35, da sad imate 24 sata.
I am not to let anger and resentment build up in my wife's heart.
Ja ne želim da se srđba nastani u mom srcu ili srcu moje žene.
I am not to allow that to grow in my own heart.
I to ne želim da raste u mom srcu.
Because Hebrews 12:15 says, don't let a root of bitterness get hold and cause you trouble.
Jer u Hebrejima kaže, nemojte da srđba rađa zlim gorkim korijenjem.
We are to solve the problem as quickly as we can.
Mi trebamo rješavati probleme što prije je moguće.
If I let it to go, or I try to ignore it, or I try to sweep it under the rug, I'm in trouble.
Ako je pokušavam ignorirati i ne radim po tom pitanju ništa, to će mi sigurno dovesti u probleme.
I don't want resentment and hatred to be building up.
Ja ne želim da se srđba povećava.
Hebrews 12, as I mentioned before, verse 15 says this. See to it that no one comes short of the grace of God, that no root of bitterness springs up, causes trouble.
Hebrejima 12:15 kaže, budno pazite da tko ne ostane bez milosti Božje, da ne krokuje ako je gorki korijen i da ne unese zabunu i ne zarazi cijelo mnoštvo.
And you and I know if you've done any kind of gardening, you just don't whack a weed off at the top.
I svi znamo, ako se bavite bilo kakvom povrtlarstvom, da ne želite da raste drač na vašoj
You have to dig it out of the soil to get rid of it.
Morate ga iskopati van.
Because it's just going to grow again.
Znači, morate ga iz korijena iščupati, ne samo rezati, inače će odmah narasti.
That's the warning that the writer of Hebrews gives us, and it says there that we lose out on the grace of God.
I to upravo što kaže ovdje Hebrejima, da moramo na taj način čuvati Božju milost.
And so we need to take care of the problems that we have between each other as quickly as possible.
Znači moramo se zbrinuti, posvetiti problemima koje imamo što je prije moguće.
And we cannot let them grow and become monstrous, that they become impossible to solve.
Ne smijemo dopustiti da one rastu, da postanu monstruozni i da unište.
Principle number 3 in our communication.
Princip broj 2 u našoj komunikaciji.
So, principle number 3. So we got a problem. Husband and wife have a problem.
Muž i žena imaju problem.
What do I do? Do I attack my wife or do I attack the problem?
Da li ću napasti svoju ženu ili ću napasti problem?
The Bible gives us an answer in Ephesians chapter 4.
Biblija nam daje odgovor u Efežanima 4.
Please read 29 and 30.
Efežanima 4, 29 i 30. Nikakva ružna riječ neka ne izlazi vaših usta, nego samo korisna za izgradnju gdje je potrebno, da iskaže dobročinstvo slušateljima. Ne žalostite Duha Svetoga Božjega kojim ste zapečačeni za dan otkupljenja.
You can see there, it's not attacking the person, but it's attacking the problem. I got to take care of the issue.
Vidite, ovdje nam daje Bog uputu da ne napadamo osobu, nego da napadamo problem.
Here are some words that we should not use in our communication with one another as husbands and wives.
A evo neki riječi koje kao muževi žene ne bismo smjeli nikad koristiti.
We should never make an accusation like, you never do my shirts.
Ne bismo smjeli koristiti riječi kao ti nikada ne učiniš to.
You never get me my favorite soft drink.
Nikad mi ne daješ moje omiljeno piće.
You never cook my favorite meal.
Nikad ne kuvaš moje omiljeno jelo.
I'm sorry to pick on you ladies.
Žao, prostite žene, to sam malo se...
But then you could also say to the husband, but you never pick up after yourself.
Ali žene iskažu, mogu reći mužu, ti nikad ne spremiš za sobom.
But you always leave a mess in the bathroom.
Uvijek ostaviš u zahodu sranje.
Okay, what did I communicate?
Što sam ti rekao?
Being communicated.
You made it stronger. So we had those issues that we started to do that. And I always say, look, in 1903 I took care of it once. Now, I've not been around since 1903, once you know that. But I know once I at least took care of it. So we can't say those 100% words.
Znači, moramo izbjegavati te riječi koje su 100%, jer ipak nije da nisam nikada počistio sa sobom.
Do you know where 100% words are most appropriate?
Znate li gdje su te 100% riječi najkorisnije?
2 Corinthians 9:8.
2 Korinčanima 9:8.
And if you would read that for me,
2 Korinčanima
it
9:8.
may clean up what you said before.
Da počistimo ono što sam prije rekao. A Bog može tako obilato izliti na vas svaku vrstu milosti, da možete imati uvijek i u svemu, sasvim dovoljno svega i još imati viška za kojim je drago dobro djelo.
Notice Paul, in his writing there, says, all grace,
Vidite, Pavel ovdje koristi riječi
always having sufficiency,
uvijek
in
imate
everything,
u svemu,
abundance for every good deed.
Svega.
At times he uses a superlative.
U ovom slučaju on rado koristi te riječi. Nisu superlativi, nego su...
Everything. Because he's speaking of God.
Jer on govori
He's
Božje
speaking
ime.
of God.
On govori Božje ime.
And so that's when we can use the 100% words.
I to je mjesto gdje možete koristiti 100% riječi.
But folks, I sadly know,
Ali,
sadly know.
understand. You want something?
No, I sadly understand
Ja-
and know that in the body of Christ this happens.
Ja sa žaljenjem razumijem da se to u Kristovom tijelu događa.
I have had some of the most offensive things said in my office.
Ja sam imao u svom uredu neke od najtežih izjava čuo.
Where a man would tear his wife down,
Kada je jedan muž je toliko ponizio svoju ženu,
or a wife would call her husband names, awful names. She would
ili
call them awful
žena koja je svog muža nazivala užasnim imenima.
And the way I look at it as a pastor said, if they're willing to say that in my office, I can't imagine what they're saying at
I onda
home.
sam kao pastor zaključio, ako su to oni spremni reći u mom uredu, mogu si samo zamisliti što su spremni reći kod kuće.
And those folks would say that they were Christians
A ti su ljudi rekli da su kršćani.
in the body of Christ and members of his church.
I da su oni članovi crkve.
And I don't think it's that much different here.
I ja čak mogu pretpostaviti da nije puno drugačije ni ovdje.
Sadly, we believe that we can say whatever we want to say and God's not going to hold us accountable to it.
Nažalost, mi imamo nekakvo mišljenje da možemo reći bilo šta i da nas Bog neće držati odgovornim za to.
I remember the scripture back in Matthew
Ja se sjećam ipak u pismu u Matejevu evanđelju
that it says every word we say we will be accountable for.
da kaže da ćemo mi biti odgovorni za svaku riječ koju kažemo.
Most especially, and it doesn't say that there in the scripture now, I'm saying from Bill Shannon, God is going to hold us accountable what we say in our bedrooms and in our living rooms.
To ne kaže u Bibliji, to kaže Bill Shannon, da ćemo još više odgovarati ono što kažemo u spavajućoj sobi.
That's why Paul in Ephesians chapter 4,
Zato Pavao u Efežanima u 4. odlomku,
after warning about using unwholesome words, now says don't grieve the Holy Spirit.
nakon svega toga on kaže nemojte žalostiti Duha Svetoga.
Because that's what bad words do, they grieve God.
Jer to je ono što loše riječi čine, one žaloste Boga.
In a sense, it's saying, you better be careful here because you're going to lose out on His grace.
Jer na neki način on ti kaže budite pažljivi da ne izgubite milost.
And so we need to use the right kind of words.
Tako trebamo birati prave riječi.
Words that are edifying, words that are building up.
Riječi koje izgrađuju, koje afirmiraju.
Words that are giving grace for the moment.
Riječi koje daju, komuniciraju milost.
Not words that in verses 31 are bitterness, wrath, and anger, and slander.
A ne poput u 31. retku gorčine, gnjeva, srdžbe, vike, psovke.
But those kinds of words that are being kind to one another.
Nego riječi kojima ste ljubazni jedni drugima.
Tender-hearted towards each other.
Nježni jedni prema drugima.
We're going to talk about forgiveness in a little while, but forgiving of each other.
Mi ćemo kasnije više govoriti o oproštenju, ali možemo sad reći oprostite jedni drugome.
Now, there's a new book that's been written by one of the Tripp brothers, and it's called "What Did You Expect?" and it has people in wedding dresses.
Jedna knjiga koju je napisao jedan autor zove se Što očekuješ i onda je slika mladenaca u vjenčanim odjelima.
Folks, if you got married, if you are married, you married a sinner.
Morate znati, morate svi biti svjesni, ako idete u brak, da idete u brak sa grešnom osobom.
If you're looking to get married, you're looking to marry a sinner.
Ako tražiš nekog koga ćeš oženiti, ti zaista tražiš grešnika.
Does that give us an excuse?
Da nam to daje opravdanje?
I've had men come in my office week after week after week confessing the same sin.
Ja sam imao ljude u uredu koji su tjedan za tjednom jedne te iste grijehe ispovjedali.
And I tell them, look, I was born a Roman Catholic and I was raised in a Roman Catholic church, but I'm a Christian now.
Ja sam rekao, gledajte, ja sam rođen kao katolik i odgojen kao katolik, a sad sam kršćanin.
I'm not a priest and you don't need to confess your sin to me.
Nisam ja svećenik da biste se vi trebali kod mene ispovijedati.
You need to repent of your sin.
Trebate se pokajati od svojih grijeha.
That means you need to change.
To znači da se trebate promijeniti.
And so that's what we need to do. We need to begin to change those kinds of things.
Znači, to je ono što moramo raditi, moramo mijenjati svoje ponašanje.
Wives and husbands can be very forgiving, but they need to make sure that they're working on their sin issues.
Muž i žene mogu biti skloni praštanju, ali moraju znati, moraju biti spremni da rade na svojim problemima.
Because it says here that I'm supposed to forgive my wife just as God in Christ Jesus forgave me.
Jer ovdje kaže da moramo oprostiti svojoj ženi upravo na način na koji je Bog u Kristu oprostio meni.
Now let's say I've been forgiven of all this amount of sin.
Hajde da kažemo, recimo usporedimo da je meni ovoliko grijeha oprošteno.
And my wife sinned against me this little bit.
A moja žena prema meni griješi toliko malo.
And I can't forgive that?
I ja to ne mogu oprostiti.
I should take a hammer and bang my head.
Ja bolje da uzmem onda čekić da se uzmem po glavi.
Because as I read the scriptures,
jer kao što ja vidim u pismu,
it says that if I can't forgive that, then God can't forgive me.
Kaže, ako ja ne mogu toliko malo oprostiti, onda Bog meni ne može ono sve puno.
Now I put that in a personal tense, but I want you to know, folks, it's you too.
A ja sam stavio sad u prvo lice jednine, ali želim da znate da je to za svakoga.
Forgiveness should be flowing from my lips immediately and always from my wife in our relationship.
Oproštenje mora teći iz mojih usta prema mojoj ženi kontinuirano.
When there's a situation of confrontation of my wife confronting me,
kada se nađem u situaciji sukoba i moja žena se usprotivi meni,
I don't want to be like David and not even understand what Nathan was saying to me.
I ne želim biti poput Davida da čak koji nije razumio šta mu je Natan htio reći.
You remember the situation with David. He committed adultery with Bathsheba and then killed her husband.
Sjetite se situacije da je on napravio preljub sa Bathshebom i onda je ubio njezinog muža.
And he goes moping about the palace for the next 11 months in depression.
I onda, what?
Moping, sad, depressed.
I onda je on bio mjesecima depresivan u svojoj palači.
Nathan comes to him and he gives this story about this little shepherd boy had only one sheep.
I onda mu je Natan došao sa tom pričom o siromahu koji ima samo jednu ovcu.
And it was taken from him and David gets angry.
I tu mu je ovcu drugi uzeo i to je Davida razgnjevilo.
He wants to go get that guy who stole the sheep.
I on je odmah htio reagirati i kazniti čovjeka koji je uzeo tu ovcu.
And Nathan said to him, "You the man."
A Natan mu je rekao, ti si taj.
When we are confronted with the Word of God on Sunday morning,
kada se mi nedjelju ujutro smo suočeni, konfrontirani sa riječi Božjom,
we need to take it personally.
Trebamo to uzeti osobno.
I'm the one who gets angry. My wife didn't make me angry.
Ja sam taj koji se ljutim, nije moja žena mene naljutila.
I'm the one who sinned against my husband, and it's not my husband who sinned against me.
Ja sam ta koja sam sagriješila protiv svojeg muža.
And so that leads us to principle number 4.
I to nas vodi u princip broj 4.
To act, not react.
Da ne reagiramo.
Act, not react to what is being said. How would I describe? Do they have thermostats here?
Imate li termostat ovdje? Kako da bi ja... Termostat?
Thermostats.
Yeah.
They do? Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm ignorant.
Okay, it's all right.
Thermostats react to the temperature in the room, don't they?
Termostat reagira na temperaturu koja je u prostoriji.
Yeah, but they react to that, and if it gets too cold, it puts the heat on.
Znači kad postaje hladnije, onda on uključi grijanje.
I can't allow when things get too hot to then get hotter.
Ne mogu dopustiti da kad stvari postaju prežuče, da onda još se dodatno zagrijava.
I need to control the temperature of the room.
Ja trebam kontrolirati i upravljati temperaturom u sobi.
And so I don't want to do what verse 31 says there, and develop bitterness and wrath and anger and slander.
Kao što ovdje u 31. redu kaže, neka se ukloni od vas svaka vrsta gorčine, gnjeva, srdečbe, vike i psovke.
But I want to do the other side of the issue.
Ali želim također i učiniti ono s druge strane.
I want to take responsibility and I want to move towards actions that are going to resolve the conflict.
Ja želim uzeti odgovornost i raditi na rješenju konflikta.
I want to make sure that I'm going to my wife and saying, "Have I hurt you?" If I see her say,
Trebam biti
face sad. That's what I was trying to say. If I see her sad face, I want to go to her and say,
ako
"How
vidim
did you?"
da ti je lice tužno, moram reagirati, moram ići, jesam li te možda nečim povrijedio?
I don't know what it is.
Ne znam što je.
I mean, I see sad faces of people that I'm preaching to on Sunday.
Ja vidim žalostne face i kad propovijedam u nedjelju.
First of all, I hope it's not my preaching.
Nadam se da to nije moje propovijed.
But secondly, I know some of those people have sad faces for a reason.
Ali drugo, znam da ta tužna lica mogu biti s razlogom.
Because they do have difficult marriages.
Jer oni mogu imati poteškoće u svojim brakovima.
I don't want to ever see my wife with that sad face.
Ever?
I don't want her to ever have that kind of
Ja ne želim nikada svoju suprugu vidjeti takvu vrstu žalostnog lica.
I want her to experience the joy of the Lord.
Ja želim da ona ima kontinuirano iskustvo radosti kod Gospodnje.
And so if I do see that, I go to her and I say, what is wrong? There's something wrong.
A kad to vidim, onda idem k njoj i pitam je šta je krivo.
That's being kind to one another and tender-hearted, looking to solve the problem before it even gets started.
To znači biti jedan prema drugom prijaznim, punim milosrđa i rješavati probleme proaktivno.
Now, when I counsel with folks, sometimes it's said to me, but Pastor, we never have the time to speak.
A kad imam savjetovanje sa bračnim parovima, često put čujem da mi kažu, pastore, ali mi nemamo dovoljno vremena da bismo na tome poradili.
Now, in Croatia, do they have the same number of hours we have in America?
Da li u Hrvatskoj ima isti broj sati kao što imamo mi u Americi?
Do you know there are 168 hours in a week?
Znate li da je 168 sati u jednom tjednu?
And so I have folks give me their schedule for the whole 168 hours.
Imao sam ljude koji su mi dali svoj raspored za svih 168 sati.
Even folks with the busiest of schedules, we find time.
Čak i oni koji su najzaposleniji, čak i kod njihovog rasporeda smo uspjeli naći neko vrijeme.
I remember asking this one young couple, I said, all I want is 30 minutes where you discuss this issue.
I kod jednog mladog para smo rekli, možemo naći pola sata da biste vi o tome porazgovarali.
I came back 3 weeks in a row, we never found the time. 3 weeks in a row they came back and they kept saying, we don't have the time.
I 3 tjedna za redom su dolazili i nastavili se me govoriti, ali mi nikad nemamo vremena.
And so I said, next week I cancel our appointment, you just found some time.
Ja sam rekao, sljedeći tjedan ću ja onda otkazati naš sastanak ako vi ne nađete neko vrijeme.
Folks, if you really want to get it done, you can get it done.
Ako želite nešto razriješiti, onda stvarno morate uzeti vrijeme.
It's a matter of blocking the time and doing it.
Radi se o tome da jednostavno blokiraš svoje druge obveze i to napraviš.
So they have a problem of non-communicating, and I do have a couple like that right now.
Imam problem sa
Yeah, I have a problem of communicating, and I've given this assignment for a few weeks here.
Znači oni su imali problem komunikacije i dao sam im određenu domaću zadaću za nekoliko tjedna.
They've been married for 11 years and they really don't have that communication, and so I've asked them to sit down for 30 minutes.
11 godina su bili u braku i nije bila među njima gotovo nikakve komunikacije, rekao sam im da sjednu za pola sata.
After the first week they didn't have it done.
Kad su to prvi put napravili.
So I said, I want you to text me when you get it done next week and whether you can come in and see me.
Ja sam rekao neka mi pošalje poruku,
text me to tell me that you got it done before you come in.
Da mi pošalje poruku da su to napravili prije nego dođu na ponovni sastanak.
Guess what? They were able to get it done that next week. And they're busy. They had a busy week just like they did the week before.
I oni su zbilja našli vrijeme da to bez obzira kako su god bili zauzeti.
And so it can be done, and we need to set that time aside. And I tell them there are some other things I want them to do.
I još bile neke druge stvari koje sam rekao da učine.
I want them to keep a record of what they decided.
I htio sam i da oni vode si bilješke onome što su učinili.
These are the bullet points that they come up with that they need to do.
I to su bile neke natuknice s kojima su došli što bi trebali napraviti.
And they put who's supposed to get it done next to it and what that bullet point is.
I uz to su odmah zapisali ko bi trebao to nešto napraviti.
See, to just have a conversation about it doesn't do anything until you assign somebody to get it done.
Znači imati razgovor općeniti još uvijek ne znači rješenje tako dugo dok ne budete konkretni šta bi neko trebao napraviti.
Before you know it, they start to get these things accomplished and they're moving closer and closer to it.
I kako su oni rješavali te stvari, onda su postajali sve bliski.
The problems of communication
Problem komunikacije
are a problem of selfishness.
je problem sebičnosti.